The culture is actually damn good.
We're not urinating on fire.
You can stop asking that question. I'm going to be calling your defense.
What I talked to Russell about is none of your business.
Both games.
You can sense that the Vikings are getting impatient with the old core. Anyone who could decipher basic statistics could tell you that Minnesota's season was extremely lucky. Some might say fraudulent. Despite their bitterly disappointing finish, the Vikes must move forward. And that unfortunately means gutting a huge chunk of the old core. Thielen, Kendricks, Tomlinson, Pat Pete, thank you for your service, but money is precious. Get the fuck out. Harrison Smith was also rumored to be gone, but he restructured his deal. Kirk Cousins hasn't received his nearly annual extension either. And none is imminent. Is his time here nearly over, or will they keep re-upping since they can't get much better? Signing younger players like Byron Murphy, Marcus Davenport, and Dean Lowry are decent options to replace the fallen, but it hurts to see old heroes leave. Just wish they had more success when they were here. It's the cruelty of business and father time. And we unfortunately can't have it any other way.
The Minnesota Vikings select Jordan Addison, wide receiver, USC.
Run on wide receivers continues with Minnesota's answer to Adam Thielen. Addison fills a lot of the requirements that Thielen had as a Viking for many years. Slightly undersized, cerebral, good route running, and reliable hands. He made magic happen at Pitt and USC. And if he utilizes those talents as a Viking, he'll make a great 1-2 punch with Justin Jefferson for a while. Now the question becomes who's going to throw to them after this season. But that's for another time. Like the Bears of the past few years, the Vikings are purging their old stalwarts in favor of the youth. Think the likes of Eric Kendricks, Adam Thielen, and recently Dalvin Cook, who apparently is no longer good enough after having a supposedly down year. Danielle Hunter may be next if he keeps threatening to hold out. He chose not to, however, so he stays like Harrison Smith. Minnesota looks to the future, and that's in Justin Jefferson, who will be looking to get position-changing money soon. Probably significantly so if TJ Hawkinson's seismic extension is anything to go by. It's also in Jordan Addison, who's so eager to speed down the line he'll go 140 and a 50. But who's going to be throwing to them in the future? You can always do worse than Kirk Cousins, but does Minnesota think they can do better? The Vikings have always felt like underachievers until this past season. Even then, they got insanely lucky. Is regression the name of the game? Or will the defense finally manage to stop something without Donatel holding them back? Worst case scenario to their year? The equivalent of a check down on a 4th and 9. First off, I believe there's a repeat winner in the NFC East. Philly takes it thanks to their offense. Sorry, Dallas. The NFC North, I'm going to kill myself in the future for it, but I'm picking Detroit. I think the Lions do it this year. Think that's crazy? I have Atlanta winning the NFC South. The only other serious contender here is New Orleans, and I don't trust them to stay healthy. NFC West, all things considered, is Seattle's to lose. This could change if Bosa plays and Purdy stays healthy, so I have them in a wildcard spot. The other 2 slots go to Dallas and Minnesota. As I said though, the final spots are anyone's guess. And that's the majesty of the game itself. Enough talk. Let's get to the football. Oh, Vikings, will you ever find a way to not break your fan spirits? You've been doing it pretty much every season of your existence, and you did it again today. Kirk Cousins was balling in the first half. 273 yards of passing against a team struggling to find an identity. Should be an easy win, right? Do you know what team you're watching here? This O-line can't perform for shit. Cousins is getting destroyed in the pocket. Are you all that shocked that he's coughing up the ball every chance he gets? No presence in the running game, and oh boy, another red zone INT by Cousins. On goddamn you. He took a while to start up, but Baker managed to hold his own and play the role he does best. The underdog. He carves up a Vikings defense still recovering from Donatel syndrome and gets them the lead. Minnesota does the time-honored tradition and just folds. They do little on offense in the 4th quarter and lose. To a team expected to do next to nothing this season, they decide that this was the time to reinforce stereotypes. No big contract and no win. I'd be pissed too, Justin. The Vikings. I could end the segment here and you would understand everything that happened in this game. Take last week's repeated seppuku with the football and amplify it by at least 10 times. Whatever they could fuck up with possession, they did with pleasure. A battered offensive line got even more battered as people apparently blamed Alex Madison for it. So it's his fault the front office cut Dalvin Cook? He wouldn't do anything here and you know it. Kirk Cousins is getting destroyed too. And if things couldn't get worse, Justin Jefferson coughed up the ball at the 1 as it rolls into the end zone to give the ball to Philly. Standard goddamn Minnesota. What did the Eagles do? Just hog time of possession as everyone gets triggered about the tush push. Because God forbid someone use their strength on the interior offensive line to an advantage. That was Minnesota's day. Get them right where you want, then the ball gets tush pushed for a touchback. If only you weren't so damn cursed, Vikings. We have ourselves a good old-fashioned choke bowl. Two teams that do everything in their power to blow games. Two teams that refuse to take the wins that are being handed to them. One team must unfortunately win. If Minnesota keeps fumbling the damn ball every chance they get, it's going to be a long game. Let's make this completely clear. The only reason the Chargers have any relevance in this matchup is because of Justin Herbert's near perfection. Another week without Austin Eckler means he'll have to do every goddamn thing for this franchise. Fortunately for them, the Vikings defense doesn't seem to be all that keen on stopping a runny nose, let alone their receivers. Their own receivers fumbling will do that for them. Considering that neither defense can make a damn stop, and nearly every single move the Chargers have made to fix it hasn't worked whatsoever, the game turns into an offensive shootout. The only thing stopping either teams are their own fuck-ups. Both offenses are the Harlem Globetrotters facing the Washington Generals. Defense bows down and lets them put on a show. By God, they did. Throwing haymakers in the annals of war until deep in the fourth quarter. The Vikings are down by 4, but they're charging down the field. Liquid LA, and the greatest shocker of all is managing to hold firm on defense. Minnesota tries to go for it on 4th down in front of their home faithful. They fail miserably. This should end the game, right? You don't know the Chargers, do you? So let me get this straight. You go for it on a 4th and 1 at your own 20, and take the ball away from your best offensive weapon? Staley, you're such a fucking hack. Now Minnesota has prime field position to win a game they shouldn't be close in, converting a 4th down for a chance at grand larceny. So Vikings, why are you burning this much clock? Spike the ball. Don't overthink it for 20 damn seconds. Jeez!
So much time being wasted here. 12 seconds when Cousins gets the snap. Steps up, throws for the end zone, deflected, and it's intercepted. Murray!
Peak fucking Vikings. The chance to take victory from a countertop, but then stumble on a step and fall into an acid bath. Say you couldn't hear the play call, Kirk? It's not hard to spike the fucking ball, dude. Just do that and run to the sideline. It's not hard to overthink that. Congratulations, Brandon Staley. You just escaped your own incompetence yet again. If I didn't know any better, I'd call you Goldman Sachs. I can hear everyone screaming at me to call this a tank bowl, but I argue this is far more of a choke bowl. Know why? Kirk Cousins threw yet another interception in the red zone. It was taken all the way back for a 99-yard pick six. Know how it gets worse? It happened again just outside the red zone. Time to bring out the same tired tropes about the Vikings, right? You haven't seen Carolina much this year, have you? They're making this a lot harder than it has to be on themselves. It's not that Bryce Young isn't just looking like a deer in headlights in this offense, it's that he's pretty much 1 against 11. I don't know if it's Bryce or the schematics or that shitty O-line they have, but the Panthers can do nothing against a weak defensive unit. In fact, the Vikings defense just made Young undergo his traditional brutal fumble return for a defensive touchdown. In a game where both teams repeatedly tripped over themselves to move the football, Minnesota finally realized they have Justin Jefferson and took the lead. It would not be relinquished. Even as Carolina gets to the red zone with time winding down, they... hold? The Vikings didn't blow a game for once? This is the most shocking revelation of the week. I feel like I've experienced a break in the system. I don't know what to make of Kansas City. Are they the world beaters they show against the likes of Chicago? Or are they merely dancing through the raindrops as they've been showing most weeks? It feels like something just isn't clicking optimally in their game. The Chiefs will have these drives where they showcase the talent that's made them champions, and then they'll just sputter and let their opponents claw back into matchups. Being fooled by fake punts to being chipped away by Jordan Addison to fall behind by 3. Even worse, Travis Kelce suffered injury and you have no idea if he'll be back. Here's the frustrating part. The Chiefs snap out of it and start to play quality football, driving down the field slowly but surely to retake the lead. And they would not relinquish it. Even Mr. Pfizer himself comes back and scores a touchdown to take a 14-point lead. Should be over, right? Well, if the Vikings are good for one thing, it's making it at least a one-possession game. They like to drive their fans to the drink. Plus, KC is allowing them to claw back into the affair once again. They're near the red zone now, and 4th down is upon us. The deep ball is incomplete, but there are blatant defensive penalties on the play. Show me the flag!
There is no foul for pass interference.
Oh, wow.
No flag? Really? If that isn't Minnesota in a nutshell, I don't know what is. Sorry, kids, all you can do is accuse the league of rigging the game, even though the Chiefs are penalized to all hell. We know it's a hollow reward. Their season's going downhill in a hurry. 1-4 with every loss by just one possession. I expected regression from them this year, but like this? If this keeps up, both Cousins and Justin Jefferson may be out in the offseason. For differing reasons. Minnesota still weren't pretending that everything is fine. I'd be calling this one a tank bowl. Team that keeps finding ways to lose games against a team that somehow has the same outcomes for a decade. This is what we call some peak NFC North football, where the points are sparse and the misery is ever present. The Vikings are without Justin Jefferson long-term, and the Bears are without pretty much anything you can shake a stick at. Minnesota enjoys nothing more than amputating their own healthy limbs, so Chicago's still in the game despite their constant struggles. Don't let the close game fool you. Any hope their fans have is slowly dying in a bottle of Malort. And that bottle will soon become 4 of them. Justin Fields is injured, and it involves his throwing hand. You know what that means? It's Tyson Bagent season, boys!
Pressure coming here, and the ball is out! It's still free, and the Vikings pick it up! Down the sideline goes Jordan Hicks, and Hicks is in for the scoop and score!
It lasted all of 5 minutes. The Vikings will continually run into a brick wall because the law forces them to end all games within one possession. Don't have too many heart attacks, the Bears underthrow their shot to win like Bagent's final pass. You think you've won, Minnesota? You may have lost the war. Kirk Cousins isn't going to waive his no-trade clause. You're stuck with an anti-tanking brigade. Have fun with that. Allow me to set the stage for you. The 49ers, one of the best teams in football coming off a humiliating loss and eager to return to form, are facing the Vikings. The embodiment of agony without their best weapon and Monday Night Kirk at the helm. What did you expect to happen? The exact opposite of what you'd assume. I tip my hat to the scriptwriters for an excellent swerve from the usual fare. It's one thing when San Francisco is sloppy on offense for 1 week against an opponent they should beat, but for 2 weeks in a row? Against Brian Flores' all-out attack? It's time for some serious concern. And we need to ask a hard question. Did someone forget to tell Kirk that it was a Monday night game? Cousins played some of the best ball in his career, taking a strong Niners defense and making them his bitch. The world stood in shock as people remembered that Kirk is a good quarterback and all goes to hell. It goes further to hell when you remember that this is Minnesota, and they can never ever be normal. Brian Flores continues to go into cover 0 and gets burned on it because once again the Vikings finishing within one possession is written into law. The tension can be cut with a butter knife, it's that thick. Field goals are traded and the Vikings are only up by 5. You know what that means? Time for Brock Purdy to work his magic. I guess this is the magic he's delivering these days? Okay then. Kirk continues his masterful performance and gets them to field goal range. But do you know what this team is? The Vikings missing a field goal? This is supposed to be surprising? Well, we know how this one's ending. San Fran, congrats on the ugly win.
Purdy steps through, floats it, he's hit, and that's it!
Wait a minute, this wasn't in the script I was given. The players are ad-libbing. It does add a unique flair to a stale classic. Minnesota cannot be normal. And in this state, they shock the world. A season once lost to the abyss is looking more and more salvageable. So how's the pain amplified in this quest? Green Bay's gangrenous wounds are starting to fester. Aaron Jones may be back, but the Packers will once again experience something that hasn't been regular since the 80s. Failure. Consistent, pervasive failure. An offense that can't drive, a defense that keeps driving backwards, and a coaching staff asleep at the wheel. There may be pieces of skill, but there is literally nothing here. Nothing. This is a shitty football team. And today's results more than justify such a claim. Here's a consolation prize of Rashawn Gary being extended. Minnesota routed their foe with next to no effort needed whatsoever. A well-rounded win that should be satisfying to everyone in the organization. There's one major problem with this outcome. Vikings, you know finishing within one score of your opponent is the law. You have violated it. Now pay with your blood. Kirk Cousins, torn Achilles. This might be the last time he puts on a Vikings uniform. Even in victory, there will be devastating loss. Kirk was putting together some great performances recently, too. What a fucking brutal blow. There isn't much available on the market to replace Cousins. Certainly nothing near his calibers of late. I'd tell them to scramble, but there isn't much available to even do that. Break the glass in case of emergency? Well, this is certainly one. Josh Dobbs is backup caliber, but he's on the outs in Arizona and has proven he can start in a pinch. It's better than what they have, so congratulations, you're a Viking. Josh, you're gonna be thrown into the fire, but hey, it's a starting gig. Good chance to add a little more money to that next contract if you succeed. Hopefully. Minnesota is in hell. And not the standard hell, but a special one created by a vengeful god. Losing Kirk Cousins for the year has put them in a tight spot. Getting the nod today is Jaron Hall, a fifth-round rookie who actually put together a promising opening drive. That's all we'll see of him. He got knocked out of the game with a concussion. Well, Josh, you've only been here for 5 days. Enjoy being thrust into the fire immediately. The sack you take for a safety is complimentary. Don't expect backup. The emergency QB is also injured. Under these circumstances, it should mean a painful loss. You don't know Atlanta and you don't know Arthur Smith. You may have finally used logic into starting Taylor Heineke today, but there are other ways to evade jurisprudence. Like using Jonnu Smith on a jet sweep at the goal line. They do not get into the end zone. That is the Falcons' offense. Having all of these weapons to use on your opponent only to play yourself with a rusty butter knife. Only they missed like Atlanta's defense did against Minnesota's attack. Without their first two quarterbacks and two of their better wideouts. Josh Dobbs just got in, yet looked like a seasoned pro to bring the game back. Even then, it becomes a stalemate for a bit. And Atlanta is starting to pull away from a cursed Vikings franchise due to reasons of Jonnu Smith? But if there's anything the Falcons are good for this year, it's getting in their own damn way. Give the ball to Bijan, we said. He barely gets the rock as it is. With this fumble, he probably won't see action for weeks. Dobby punishes those that doubt him to tie the game up at 21. Next drive, Atlanta continues the choke with an awful pass by Heineke.
Why do you keep doing this to me, Falcons?
The agony must continue, though. Minnesota's forced to kick a field goal. Things are quiet until Taylor Heineke unleashes what he's known for. His 10,000 dogs willing the football down the field. Not much in talent, but endless moxie. Thanks to his might, Atlanta takes the lead. But Josh Dobbs is a cerebral being. He's not just comfortable in adversity, he's grown up in it. 5 different franchises have had him on roster in the past year. And Dobby's adapted well to all of them. This, though, might be the peak.
3rd and 4. Time. Catch! Brandon Powell! Touchdown Vikings! And they have the lead!
Never say never, kids. Minnesota went from dead to rights back to jump-starting a potential push. 4 wins in a row for the Vikings, saving their season. They came against the team that repeatedly puts the idiot and idiot savant. Arthur Smith, I have a new formation for you to run. It's called the lolcow. I think it'll fit you guys nicely. I hate this team. I really do. Over half a decade ago, the Minneapolis Miracle bewildered us all to allow the Vikings to advance to pain and failure. Has it really been that long? Both teams still yearn for such a prize again, but only Minnesota can have the miracle today. That man's name is Josh Dobbs. The Pastronaut, Dobby the House QB, whatever you want to call him, he's gone into a new offense and is running it like Kirk Cousins was. New Orleans' defense is supposed to be good, but here, Dobbs is fooling them at every turn. I consider him backup caliber, but am I sleeping on him? With the 24-3 lead at halftime, perhaps I am. But as we know, the Vikings cannot win or lose a game by more than 1 score under penalty of death. They must allow the Saints to close the gap by any means necessary, but there will be a challenge. Derek Carr suffered another breakdown on the freeway. They must reopen the turnover bakery of famous Jameis. The Jameis is a dynamic foe. He'll flash his amazing talent, making daring throws to Chris Olave in the corner of the end zone, chucking the ball across the field for a death-defying touchdown to put them within 1 score. He'll get opportunities as the Saints defense shuts down Minnesota at every turn. And then...
Up the middle, Metellus. Winston launches a high ball, and Mekhi Blackman comes down with his first NFL interception.
The legendary turnovers make a return. Oh, Jameis, you haven't baked these tasty treats for so long, but it's so nice to see you haven't lost your touch. These 2 brutal interceptions help the Vikings maintain the law and still win the contest. 5 victories in a row now. This is some magical shit going on. Best basket it while it lasts. 2 of the hottest teams in football in a primetime match. Imagine saying that a month ago. It was a borderline tank bowl back then. Early on, it appeared that the Vikings' miracle run would continue for another week. Denver's offense has been sputtering, and against Minnesota's all-out assault and blitzing, they can't get much of anything going. Simply field goals as they stall out just before the golden lands of the end zone. As it's 10-9 at halftime, the Vikings know they need to push the envelope to truly seal the deal. And with the Pastronaut engineering a touchdown drive of his own, it should be more than enough. I hate to inform you, Minnesota, but finishing a game winning by more than 1 possession is illegal. Denver's defense remembers they have a shitload of talent on it. And the Vikings proceed to fuck the ball at nearly every opportunity. Turns out Minnesota tends to fold under constant defensive pressure, and 2 brutal turnovers allow Denver to get within 2. The Vikings could use a win though, and they'll pull out all the trickery on 4th down to try and seal the deal. They burn a shitload of clock. They get to around the 10, but they just stall out. Field goal kicked, and Denver has a chance. To be fair, that's all you need in the NFL. Minnesota's defense finally cracks under the face of adversity. They can't stop anything on this drive, and the Broncos fumble had eyes and rode out of bounds. The inevitable is about to commence.
They do. Vikings bring the heat again. Wilson throws up for grabs and is caught for the touchdown!
I think the magic may have run out for a bit in Minnesota. All that we have is endless hopium in Denver. Everyone within a 300-mile radius of the city should shelter in place immediately. The toxic fumes of a 4-game winning streak will drunkenly stumble into your heart if you aren't careful. Or get suspended again like Kareem Jackson is. This is merely part of the ride, and it never ends. Never. You must suffer for your art. It's what men wiser than me say, but if it involves watching this shit, I'd rather avoid the pain. This contest was fucking terrible. Hilariously and competently terrible. The only thing worth mentioning was that it was a game. Some may say, the greatest game. No, that's just idiotic. I keep tempting fate and it delivers a haymaker across my face. I shouldn't expect anything less from the Chicago Bears. Fanbase was talking a lot of shit before the year. There were high hopes to start, but they immediately were forced to eat endless amounts of shit. Chaos everywhere you look. The coaching staff drunk on Malort steering the ship aimlessly, endless humiliations, and an assistant coach cast off from the team due to allegations of heinous behavior. Make that 2 assistants. Matt Eberflus can boast about the culture, but the only boasting he'll be doing is on the unemployment line come January. If they keep choking like they did against the Lions, there may be more on the chopping block besides him. On the other side of the coin, it's the hope for the Minnesota Vikings that they'll be playing meaningful football in a month or so. They've been through a ton of adversity this season. A woeful 1-4 start countered by a strong 5-game winning streak, only to suffer severe injuries to stars throughout the roster. That includes Kirk Cousins, his Achilles torn like the team's spirit. Josh Dobbs has been the legend of memes in Minnesota alike, but his magic may be wearing off, especially after a loss to Denver where the offense couldn't activate the full potential. Despite the setback, they're still in good position to get a wildcard spot, and their destiny is in their own hands. Monday Night Football is the scene. Another week without Justin Jefferson in the friendly confines of US Bank Stadium. Horns will blow and skulls will be chanted as the opening kickoff is delivered to the Chicago Bears. Little did the fans in attendance know that they'd experience a violation of their 8th Amendment rights. Justin Fields scrambling for his life, hoping someone's open down the field. It works a couple of times, but then Fields gets eaten alive in the pocket and the field goal unit trots out. Cairo Santos shanks the kick wide. The tone has been set for failure, and it'll be eaten alive by the Bears' defensive front in a 3-and-out. Do we get anything special on this next drive? No, just Fields being sacked deep in his own territory. 4th and 10 coming up for the Bears. Punting. Fuck it, just throw it up there. And it's gonna be caught? How the fuck did that happen? It'd be awful nice if they did anything with it, which they don't. We finally get points on the board, and the Vikings have only had the ball for 3 plays until this point. That might be for the best if we're being honest. The Bears can't have anything nice in this world, so they're going to be penalized for a player taking his helmet off on the field. His face mask had been ripped off on the sidelines. He was just trying to point it out. The drive prematurely stalled. It's time for Fields to work his magic by airmailing a wide-open receiver. Josh Dobbs will not be deterred by his opponent, however. The Bears will commit blatant penalties to get them to midfield. The meme magic runs strong within him, rocketing a pass that ricochets right into the hands of a Chicago defender. This is supposed to be a primetime match. By the way, did you like no offense whatsoever? Do you like impotent screen passes? Do you like almost pick sixes? Do you like punting? Great news, this is the matchup that you've been dying to see. I know you'll be shocked to find this out, but Minnesota is moving the ball down the field. Yes, actual offense by the Vikings in this game. Aided by a pass interference penalty by the Bears, to be fair, but Minnesota knows the only counter is an intentional grounding demerit. Drive dead. I don't know how the hell it's tied at half, to be honest. If Chicago is a real offense, they lead by at least 14. Dead serious when I say that. And with Minnesota getting ball at half, they have a chance to finally get their shit together. This apparently means going for it on a 4th and 7 at midfield? Did everyone drink stupid juice today or something? They're daring the Bears offense to do literally anything with these golden chances. The sheer disrespect is hilarious to see. With all these screens and ineffective passes, they were proven correct. They do retake the lead, however, and I want to die. Thousands of years of human evolution, yet these teams are making the wheel into a square. This is absolutely unwatchable. If it weren't for sports ball, I'd have turned this game off an hour ago. Tom Brady said there was too much mediocrity, he was too damn nice. Awful offense is turning this into a complete slog. How was Patriots Giants more of an offensive showcase than this?
Analytics likes this call up to 6 yards. 4th down and 3. And this one up in the air and picked off by Edwards.
Oh, Jesus Christ. We're nearing the end of the third quarter and only 9 points are on the board. Can Chicago do anything with the ball in field goal range? Fuck no, it's predictable as hell. Cairo Santos 9, Greg Joseph 3. Holy crap, the Vikings actually converted a 3rd down for once. It's the 4th quarter. I'm just waiting for Josh Dobbs to make another turnover. I know you want to do it, man. Just let your passions flow.
Yannick Ngakoue just limped off the field for the Bears. This one is intercepted by Chicago.
There were Steelers fans upset that Dobbs was let go from the team a few weeks ago. They need to apologize right now. I like him, but dude's a backup. Great in a pinch, but not a starting option. This game shows it. Bears, please do something besides fall apart in field goal range. I beg of you, Justin. Prove yourself as a starting quarterback.
Fields pulls out. Sheldon Day is there. Metellus knocked it out.
I cut my drinking significantly for weight loss this year. I am seriously regretting that decision right now.
Sauce Dobbs gonna launch a rocket off course this time.
Saw him limp away last time the Vikings had it. This one aired out. It's Addison all alone, but out of bounds.
Somewhere in the afterlife, Paul Brown is crying into a canister of film. This is sub-XFL tier. If you were to take a shot every time a terribly schemed screen or run up the gut was called, you'd have been dead in the 2nd quarter. Oh, the Vikings are moving the ball. Wake me when they actually score.
They're going to put a drive together and put themselves back in the game.
Gordon went back to the sideline. Brisker's over there too. End zone. Hawkinson. Touchdown.
I never thought it to be possible. A touchdown? In this economy? I thought that was ruled illegal in a past decree. The Vikings have the lead. And now the Bears can respond in kind to make this a game.
Fields steps through. Will try to get it with his legs. Balls out. Another Fields turnover.
So where's Fields gonna end up next year? Developmental role in the Seahawks? That'd be an interesting fit. I'd like to see that. I'd also like to see the Vikings not shit the bed on this drive, but guess what happens? They shit it. Punting time in the game that never fucking ends. It'd be vintage Vikings to suddenly get passive on defense and allow Chicago to get into field goal range. And that's what they're doing. Because why blitz when you can rush 3 and give Fields all the time in the world to decide? 2 minutes left and no timeouts for Chicago. They have to get at least 10 more yards by any means necessary. 1st down. Nobody open for Fields, gotta throw it away and fight another day. 2nd down, same situation. Nobody open to make a strike down the field, gotta throw it away. 3rd down.
Fields lets it go. DJ Moore has it down inside the 15.
Remember this lesson, kids. Prevent defense prevents winning. How the hell do you let DJ Moore of all people get wide open in the middle of the field like that? Covering their best receiver in man coverage, why the hell would you do that? Chicago's so stunned they even got this far, they're just kneeling the ball to burn clock. The only thing stunning to me is that this game's about to end.
Play clock at 4, good snap, good hold, good kick. Bears Bears are back on top with 10 seconds to go.
Fucking hilarious. Minnesota self-destructs in a game they needed to win by failing to match shapes. A challenging season getting even more challenging as they sputtered to 500 headed into their bye week. Justin Jefferson should be back by then, but the questions at quarterback linger. The Pastronauts' performance was so dire that he could end up getting decommissioned. You lost to the red-headed stepchild of the division. It was Matt Eberflus's first win against a divisional opponent. Mostly despite themselves, but they still got the dub. Bears fans everywhere still want Eberflus and Getsy fired. I don't think it changes their trajectory at all, but you know something? Even for the win, it didn't fuck up their tank whatsoever with either pick. The true victory to cherish. And a fitting end to this shit show. I only wish to drink to numb the pain. A small comfort to witnessing one of the games of our time.
With Benny Hill music playing in the background, this game is over, thankfully.
You said it, Joe. You fucking said it. I noticed more than a few people were surprised when I didn't separate Chargers versus Patriots last week for greatest game. That matchup was unwatchable, but at least that had the excuse of being in awful weather conditions. So what's the Vikings and Raiders' excuse? This was played in a dome. How was this so offensively inept? It was definitely a game, but far from the greatest. Maybe a locale of the week win. Yep, this is getting separated. No rest for the weary, I suppose. My friends, that matchup was merely an appetizer. The second half resulted in the Jets pulling away to a convincing win. The real crown jewel can be found in the sands of Nevada. Here is where true magic is brewing. We know all about the Minnesota Vikings. They were proud recipients of this honor 2 weeks ago, when they joined forces with the Chicago Bears to put together a horrifically embarrassing showcase of football. 4 interceptions for the Pastronaut resulted in an ugly loss. And now they've reached must-win territory. Their opponent this time is the Las Vegas Raiders, a team drifting in the abyss after a world of abuse was laid on them. Rooting the snake out of the garden has forced a time of healing upon the organization. Mark Davis has gotten smarter and things are much more relaxed. But despite early wins against New Jersey-based teams, the franchise is stuck in their typical woes. Now on the brink of being washed away from the dance hall, this game has also become must-win in the Roomba. There is some good news delivered to us. Justin Jefferson is returning after a long absence.
Unit ready.
So the Vikings attack will be getting a needed shot in the arm. After long debate, Josh Dobbs will be given another chance to right the ship under center. On the other side, Aiden O'Connell is everything Derek Carr was, except in anything resembling talent, ability, or production. He and the Raiders get first shot at fighting stance. Oh, how the Raiders move the ball, trudging and toiling like the tortoise on the open plain. Think of the output they could have in 7.5 minutes. 27 yards. Just over 2 yards of play. Groundbreaking. It's a breakthrough compared to Minnesota. Josh Dobbs is still lost at sea for a 3 and out. Do you like punting? You're gonna see so much of it today you'll have done leg day by proxy. Drives given some semblance of hope only to die at the hands of fate itself. Or good Vikings defense, depending on who you ask. It'd be awfully nice if Dobby's magic came back. Anytime soon, pretty please? We're into the second quarter and we've barely hit 50 total yards by both teams. 1.75 yards per play. I want to formally apologize to Bears Vikings. I judged you too harshly. I thought that was awful offense. That was a gun show compared to what's going on here. At least they used their legs for something other than punting. Maybe their arms too. You know, I was looking forward to seeing Justin Jefferson play football. Dobbs got that fucker killed on a terrible throw. He was briefly hospitalized. The Pastronaut is officially crash landed. The parachutes burned up on re-entry. The women and children are screaming in horror. Despite Josh, Minnesota has more yards on this drive than gained in total beforehand. Too bad Dobbs is launching rockets randomly. But at least they're in field goal range.
And thanks very much, Greg Joseph, trying to get the Vikings on the board with a 49-yard field goal, and it is no good.
It was probably our only chance of points being scored in the foreseeable future. The cleats are cursed. Burn them. Burn the Raiders' offense while we're at it. Brian Flores is reading it like a vomit bag. Repeat the same formula as before. Minnesota pushing the Sisyphean rock of offense up the hill, only for it to be sacked for an 11-yard loss and be punted down the other side. The Raiders are still trying to learn how to walk. We should give them some time alone, preferably in the locker room at halftime. There has only been 166 yards on 61 plays, An explosive 2.72 yards per play, equivalent to about 1 Trent Richardson. For those of you keeping score of Dobbs at home, 3 passing yards, 1 receiver injured on a suicide route. I'd say he'd get 2 more injuries, but he threw a pass for 5 yards and was then sacked for 10. But we can see the light with movement. A huge punt return by DeAndre Carter, a glorious sight. Partially undone by a blindside block, but now they have a chance at something. Oh my goodness. Actual offense. They remembered they had Hunter Renfrow in the cupboard. Someone is in the red zone for the first time today. This is not a drill. Points are surely guaranteed now.
Now 2nd and 19. The toss out to Renfrow. Renfrow fumbles the football, bouncing around on the turf, and the Vikings recover.
Now I see why they keep Hunter Renfrow in storage. I award them no points, and may God have mercy on their souls. God have mercy on Vikings fans. How many people would they kill to get Kirk Cousins back? A couple thousand? Will they trade their punter's leg for it? Think of the offense that could occur for the Raiders. They've gotten close before, and they can taste it now. Look at this incredible catch by Trey Tucker down the sideline. Don't care if he was out of bounds, just give him the damn reception. We're near the end of the 3rd quarter and both teams are still averaging about 3 yards a goddamn play. We don't need another punt. We only need more inept execution. The guillotine missed the target by a few yards, just like a Josh Dobbs pass. Now stay tuned and prepare yourself for the greatest play of the game. An 83-yard punt to the end zone. A.J. Cole punted for more yards than Josh Dobbs has thrown through the air. Not even counting sacks. What did you think he did on the next drive? If you guessed the 3 and out, congratulations, you're getting a spinal tap. Yep, he's done. I don't even care that the Raiders are still raidering on the side of the road. It's time for change. Like in Harry Potter, Dobby's been killed by a Death Eater. We enter a newer, more reckless gunslinging era of Nick Mullins. He actually threw a pass accurately. We're excited about Nick Mullins. God, we are depraved fuckers. No surprise that they punted the ball later. Oh, by the way, Las Vegas, Josh Jacobs is now out because he must experience life under the franchise tag. Here's your free punt after going 3 for 14 on 3rd down. 5 minutes are left in the game, and the point drought has created another Dust Bowl. Millions of farmers out of work as their crops die by a swarm of Flores Zero blitzes. It harkens us back to the legendary Dolphins-Steelers tilt of 2007, where slop and shit were on full display. That game had a legitimate excuse of being played in a monsoon. This contest is taking place in a dome. A climate-controlled dome. But then you see it. We have a chance at something glorious. Super tie. A 0-0 masterpiece that will eclipse all other greatest games in history. We will cheer its glory in the streets. We will tell our bored grandkids about it non-stop. The depravity and horrors experienced will make us hardened men. Suffering builds character. Unless the Vikings ruin it by kicking a field goal.
The snap is down. The kick by Joseph is
One job, Raiders. You had one job and you fucked it up like everything else you've touched recently. Minnesota scored points. All good things die before their time. I fucking hate life. 3-0 in the lowest scoring game since that fateful day in 2007. And it was somehow even worse to watch. 433 yards of offense. Combined, an unbelievable 3.5 yards per play. Just under 1.2 Trent Richardsons. I'm not even angry at Aiden O'Connell for being useless. We are free. The Berlin Wall has fallen and we are now in a land of strange wonders. What positive do we have to glean from this shit pile? Brian Flores' defense is pretty good. Nick Mullins was able to throw a football. The following contests were played on the same day and featured more points scored. 5 Elite European Football League games, 4 European Women's League football games, and all but 1 NHL game. That game, ironically, was a 3-0 win for Minnesota on the road. One more parting gift for the sick fucks still watching. A pooch punt by Greg Joseph that had a net yardage of -3. What a disgustingly enjoyable sight indeed. Can we just give this win to the Rams or something? We were robbed of true greatness. And I'm done. Let's get the hell out of here. The Vikings are an experience. They cannot be described accurately without visual demonstration. If I were to simply regale you with tales of Minnesota madness, you would dismiss it as fiction. Have you heard the story of Nick Mullins? It's a messy one. Darby the House Viking has been demoted to third stringer, yet the Vikings are running away with the matchup. Why they aren't? Nick Mullins. Boys and girls, Nick is a fan of what we call the fucking chuck. Some of the absolute worst turnovers you will see from a quarterback. Seriously, dude, what the fuck is this shit? This kind of ineptitude gets you benched in middle school. Even his touchdown passes are the flukiest of bullshit. In spite of him, the Bengals are struggling to do anything against this sturdy Brian Flores defense, and the Vikings are out to a 14-point lead. But you, the viewer, should know that you never let your guard down when it comes to Minnesota. An outcome of theirs outside of one score is illegal in the modern game. The Vikings defense obliges this law and proceeds to break under the powers of Jake Browning and his many weapons. Cincinnati gets the crowd back into it with a touchdown. Nick Mullins guides his team right to a 3-and-out. Their defense is exhausted and outgunned. Too bad, Minnesota, you're going to be victims of your own hex. There are no easy wins in Skullland, only more cardiac arrests. Yet they have to keep it interesting. The offense will push forward and continue the fascinating madness of Vikings football. Remember, Nick Mullins is a fan of the fucking chuck, even during touchdown drives when he throws dangerously across his body. Can the Vikings stop anything and hold this crucial lead? Are you kidding? They're bending into an infinite loop. Now all we need is some T. Higgins to emphasize it.
Pressure, throws it deep, and the ball is caught by T. Higgins at the 1-yard line.
That is a man that's going to get paid. And then some. Maybe even more during overtime. Here is where Minnesota has their masterpiece. They force Cincy to punt, but here's logic for you. Trust your running back Ty Chandler, who's been gashing this defense all day? Nah, just run QB sneaks with Nick Mullins. Twice. They fail miserably. I'd say Nick Mullins was betting on the other team, but nah, he just sucks this much. Don't be shocked that the Bengals respond in kind because the Vikings lost their ability to play defense. Good going, boys. The AFC hates your guts.
The snap's good, the hold is good, and the Bengals have come back to beat the Vikings in overtime.
Minnesota, you fucking suck. It's not even worth it to mock you. Just get the fuck out of my sight.
You blew it. Fish.
The smell of blood is in the air. Detroit has been dying for this moment for a long time. Yet Minnesota's in a must-win situation. With Nick Mullins at the helm, it's a magic grab bag and most of the time it punches you in the face. Missed interceptions resulting in crazy touchdowns are the key to his game. The Lions may be gifting the Vikings a chance to upend them, but Mr. Mullins, he's just too kind. He's Brett Favre with a conscience. This time he's giving back to the poor instead of stealing from them. Really awful interceptions aplenty, allowing Detroit to jump out to a convincing 10-point lead. But don't fret, because Nick Mullins is a grab bag. Sometimes you get some really amazing drives out of it. It's the epitome of frustration, yet the Vikings do have a 4-point advantage. Did I mention this is a back-and-forth affair? Detroit tends to rev up their engines and roar back with several dominating drives, an average of 7 minutes long apiece, dicing a Flores unit reeling and fatigued, unable to be stopped even with the most valiant of attempts. It's now a 9-point game. The Vikings do manage to drive down the length of the field, but in the red zone, well, it's Nick Mullins. What did you expect? It's only a field goal and you'll accept that. Now time is winding down, and the Lions can bury their opponent, but are unable to truly seal the deal. This might be the season for Minnesota, and they have to drive with precision under any means necessary. Two factors at play. Aaron Glenn's defense is porous as hell, and Mullins has backyard magic on his side. The bullshit might indeed be real. Redemption drive incoming.
From the 30 on first down. Mullins steps up. He throws. It is picked off. Melifonwu with the exclamation point.
What the actual hell was that? It wasn't even a fucking chuck. That was simply a duck that stopped quacking the moment it left the nest. Remember when I said that you can always do worse than Kirk Cousins? I lied. It's a hell of a lot worse. Especially with Nick Mullins costing you games like this. But their loss is Detroit's celebration. This win solidifies an NFC North title for the Lions, their first in the NFC North. The last time they won a division was in the Clinton administration. First term. Over 30 years of ineptitude finally brought to rest. Good work, Detroit. You'll get your chance to avenge ancestors past soon enough. This NFC North showdown is a tale of different trajectories. Green Bay, while suffering growing pains, is feeling the love thanks to much-needed steps in development. Minnesota's become Mississippi, yearning for Cousins. Things so awful on the quarterback front that they're chucking the Mormon miracle known as Jaron Hall back out there hoping for a spark. Well, they definitely got a spark. Set themselves on fire. The Vikings are just out of magic. And manpower. And anything that can stop a team like the Packers in their offense. Weakened and decrepit after endless injuries and destruction. That offense made Vanilla Joe Barry's defense look like the early 2000s Ravens. A Joe Barry unit. The same one that got torched by Bryce Young and the Carolina fucking Panthers a week earlier. That's all that needs to be said. Jaron Hall ain't it. He ain't even close. And it only means that they have to bring out Nick Mullins' fucking Chuck out from the closet. Unsurprisingly, it didn't do much of anything. The Packers lord over younger brother in their house once again. And thanks to a little help from Pittsburgh, Green Bay now controls their own destiny for a playoff spot. Then again, they had this fortune happen to them last year and they blew it royally. Let's see if they do the same thing again. Final gasp for the Vikings on life support. And out of a grab bag of shit, they have no choice but to pick Nick Mullins for survival. Between him, a rookie, and a pastronaut that burned up on re-entry, there's nothing left. That's the best way to describe the Vikings. They just have nothing else to fight with. Everything's gone. Their magic, their bullshit one-score victories, most of their talent, vaporized like years of Minnesota dreams. The potential final game for Justin Jefferson as a Viking if things go south. The tears refilling the land of 10,000 lakes for eternity. In one of those lakes, they may find a way to beat Detroit, because they can't do so here. The Lions are fighting for playoff positioning. Plus taking out a division rival? Minnesota's defense is spent, why wouldn't they finish them off? It may have cost them Sam Laporta to injury, but he did get the record for most receptions by a rookie tight end. Concerns about his health aside, they're just getting the engines ready for next week. Minnesota isn't even given the dignity of a Viking funeral. They're simply sent to die with their cousins in exile.
Yes! I am invincible!
Are you kidding me? The season can't end like that!
The only way to cure this franchise's curse is contraction. This year was yet another confirmation of such a fact. Back in September, a Greek tragedy on full display. Finding ways to not only lose, but do so in brutally agonizing fashion. A 1-4 start and a Justin Jefferson injury seemingly doomed them, yet the pain must continue. It did so by winning. Quite impressively with Kirk Cousins playing the best football of his career. Proof that he was worth the loyalty and money given to him over the years. And then punished with a torn Achilles. Now everyone in Viking land who pissed on him in the past learned that it certainly is worse without Cousins. Doing everything they could to hold it together with 3 weeks of the legendary pastronaut before he went to meme heaven, Nick Mullins and the fucking Chuck and Jaron Hall. Yeah, it was as fucked as it looked. Trying to do everything to scrape by, yet continually falling on landmines in the traditional Minnesota way. Every move made being wrong. Their defense bent like a shit can and their offense slowed like it was entering one. Free falling to lose 6 of 7 at the end. This team is at a crossroads. Even if Cousins were fully healthy, the Vikings are squarely in the mid-tier. Not to mention, this might have been the last time Justin Jefferson and Danielle Hunter are seen in Minnesota purple. They may end up crying in their bedroom with Purple Rain on repeat. The legacy of a lost era that offered much more in frustrations than success. Even if a good chunk of it wasn't their fault, this Viking funeral just sets itself on fire.